Me?
You think this is funny?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary crabby... Oh my goodness!
I'm just gonna put some Battlecast gameplay, so here, have this. Do I even need an introduction to this? I hate toxic positivity so goddamn much, especially in the Nintendo fandom. I hate the fact that if I dislike modern Nintendo in any way, I will be labeled as a grifter, doing this for clicks, and defending rumors. What the heck? I totally can see why a lot of y'all are upset over the negativity. I'm not trying to defend people like Nintendine, Frogmire, or Synthetic Man. Again, why the hell would I bring up political things over a hobby? Like, I can understand that, but any kind of dislike towards modern Nintendo, and there will be a good chance that it will be labeled as grifting. Okay, before we move on, I want to make it very clear what the purpose of this video is. I am not trying to say Nintendo was a friendly corporation during the Reggie and Iwata era, they did some pretty bad things, and 2, the Wii U was dirt cheap because the Wii U was a disaster in terms of sales, and they had to make things dirt cheap because of the business, not because they cared for us. That's just silly in my opinion. And to anyone saying the Wii U was a great era for Nintendo, my guy, did you put up with the freezes? Because I remember putting up with them and my god, it was an absolute nightmare. I'm not saying the Switch Joy-Con drips are any better, both equally suck, but as someone who did grow up with the Wii U was not amazing. Even if there was some things in the Wii U era I liked, like the UI and the free online, that's like the best I'll say for the Wii U. It's still a good era for Nintendo, but not an amazing or great era. Nintendo did moves in the past which costed them to be punished. Remember N64 cartridges, which costed them Final Fantasy VII? Or Nintendo 3DS being 250 and they had to move it down to 170? So the whole notion that Nintendo was a friendly corporation is something I will never agree with. I need to justify my stance, otherwise I'll be flooded with comments that I would entirely disagree with, like Nintendo died with Iwata or the Wii U days were better. All kind of statements is just cope. And if you think I'm someone who thinks Nintendo community is weaponizing Iwata's death, you're also wrong. I don't agree with that notion at all. In fact, it is just as annoying as those who blindly love the Reggie and Iwata era. Like, people can miss Iwata without being jumped on and saying, oh, you're weaponizing Iwata's death. Like, how is that weaponizing? A lot of the time, it's just romanticizing the era. Or just people missing them. Okay, that's all I need to state. I don't agree with either side when people bring up Iwata's name. I miss Iwata, I have a lot of respect for him, he saved Earthbound and Pokemon. Okay, that's all I need to say. Now we can move on to the actual meat and potatoes of the video. I'm sorry for stalling. So if you ask me what a fanboy is it little Timmy liking modern Nintendo products? No, not in the slightest. You're perfectly allowed to like any Nintendo product as you wish. I won't have an issue even if I disagree. Oh, no. A fanboy is someone who constantly tries to justify the questionable practices of Nintendo and clowns on anyone who says otherwise. I swear, the amount of fanboys bootlicking a corporation is just baffling, especially the fact that you'll get absolutely nothing for defending a corporation, or any corporation for that matter, or trying to use cop-outs to downplay any reasonable criticism Nintendo gets, and it's infuriating. What the hell do you get out of saying, oh, Xbox and PlayStation does worse things than Nintendo, acting like Nintendo should be given a pass, which it shouldn't. I agree what Xbox does is way worse than what Nintendo does, but it doesn't mean that Nintendo should be exempt from criticism. My guess as on why Xbox and PlayStation doesn't get much criticism when they do something anti-consumer has to do with the fact that most of their games are available on Steam. You can find most titles on Steam. God of War? That's on Steam. Whereas Nintendo titles have not been provided anywhere else but on Nintendo consoles. It has been like this since 1983. Speaking of always been this way, another thing that annoys the hell out of me is when people bring up it's always been this way, acting like people who call the Switch 2 for being overpriced and saying that, oh, your complaining is futile because Nintendo has always been this way, just shutting out any valid criticism towards the Switch 2. Anytime I hear, let people enjoy things, quit having fun, thinking cap, don't like, don't play it, rage bait, just makes me realize how insecure some Nintendo fanboys are. Like, is it such a bad thing to have standards? Like thinking a Nintendo product isn't worth it or calling a game overrated? How is that any of it grifting, and how any of it is ruining your enjoyment with the Switch 2? People are just stating an opinion against a Nintendo game, and that shouldn't be a sin. It's just an opinion. I'm not saying you're not allowed to disagree with anyone. Opinions can exist on the internet. Like, you know what? I'll just give my opinions right now. I think Super Mario Odyssey is overrated as hell. I wish the game offered actual platforming than just exploration. If I wanted to play a game, I want to be rewarded for doing well, not just dealing with a camera. Mario Odyssey is not a bad game, but still really overrated. The Mario Galaxy movie was utter mediocrity. There was no story, the most important thing you need in a movie. The Detective Pikachu movie wasn't amazing, but at least it had an actual story in comparison to the Mario movies, especially Galaxy. The Sonic movies weren't perfect either, but at least those had actual substances unlike the Mario movies. I can't believe people defend this by saying, oh, it's made for the fans. That has got to be some of the funniest quote I've ever seen. Alright, that's all I have for this video. I apologize if it came out as harsh because I really needed to get this out of my chest, as I thought this thought was living rent-free in my head for a really long time. I am not saying I tolerate harassment towards those who own a Switch 2. I don't tolerate harassment in the slightest. Please don't harass others for owning a Switch 2 or for saying positive things about Nintendo games. I don't know all Nintendo fans are like this, but some fanboys are just insufferable, and I find it infuriating how almost no one is aware of the toxic positivity. I'm not planning on milking this kind of Nintendo content because I'm not a sheep catching up with the latest news on Nintendo. Do you think what I said was reasonable, or am I being overdramatic just because of a hobby? Okay, I will see you all soon. Or maybe I won't see you all soon. I need a nap.